All right, we're live. Rather than make a long and lengthy post on Facebook that doesn't go out to YouTube, I thought just make a really quick video here. Back in the vehicle, headed where else? Down to Lincoln. Time to make my presence seen, I guess, and seen and not heard in the Senate chamber balcony. So day two of debate for round one, which is called general file for LB 77. Hey, I think we're back. Let's try this again. All of a sudden, it just lost internet. Had to restart the phone. So, not sure what's up. But I think I'm back. And I don't know if everybody quit watching. If you're still with me, let me know. I see Kingpin out there. I see Hunting and Stuff with J and J. And I like to talk about hunting and stuff, and I'm a J, so I guess now it's hunting and stuff and legislation and stuff with J and J and J. I see that there looks like one person's out there. Who's out there? Need a comment. Need to see who's watching. I do apologize for the long, painful delay. I'm actually very surprised that StreamYard stayed active while I was restarting the phone. That's almost a little scary, but it's a good thing. So anyway, headed down to Lincoln. Time to be present for day 2 of the debate for LB 77 for permitless concealed carry. And I did not get a chance to listen yesterday morning to the opening day debate. And the way this works, they have to go a minimum of 8 hours, and they have other amendments that need to be debated as well and voted on. So I don't know if 8 hours will be enough, but for sure it won't be any less than that. So we're looking at yesterday morning, today in the morning, tomorrow in the morning. The debate will not happen in the afternoon sessions this week. So we're looking at least tomorrow before they could possibly call for cloture and vote to overcome the filibuster. 500 Magnums out there. All right, good to know that I actually am back. Okay. So the minimum time will be tomorrow, since they're only debating on the Senate floor in the mornings this week. So I don't know what next week will bring. I don't know if the debate will go into next week. If it does, of course, we'll let you know. There is a link to watch live on Nebraska Public Media's website. If you go to Nebraska Public Media webpage and then find the schedules and find the live schedule, you can see the legislation morning session. Not any of the committees, just the regular legislation morning session for March 2nd, 2023. But it is Every Second Matters Day, and I thought this is the perfect day that it worked out. I have the day off to go be able to go to Lincoln today on Every Second Matters Day. And I tell you what, typically we talk about finding a way to have a conversation, whether by open carry or, if not open carry, which may not be either legal or feasible or advisable in certain people's locations or in their day-to-day life. So if you have another way to maybe wear the Every Second Matters logo or wear something else, open carry via t-shirt, maybe t-shirt logo or a hat or something like that, then maybe you can just have one conversation every second day of the month with somebody that kind of spreads a little more awareness that owning guns is normal, wanting to protect oneself, wanting to go hunting, wanting to just go have fun poking holes in paper, shooting trap, whatever is the case, any lawful purpose. Sometimes it's just because I live in an area where, in a country where I have the right to keep and bear arms, even though there are those who would try and convince you otherwise that it should be considered a privilege. It's not. It's a right. And some people, that's enough for them. Why do I have guns? You don't get to ask me why. That some people will tell you that. Appreciate the well wishes from Georgia. We do. But anyway, I was listening before I decided to go live here. I set myself a reminder to go live while I was driving down here before I get too far and I'm out of good cell service. So I was listening to yesterday's debate. It is available. You cannot go to the Nebraska Public Media website and pull up past debates. It's live stream only. You cannot get to the archives. So luckily there is a YouTube page out there, and I can never remember the name, but if you search YouTube for Nebraska unicameral, you can find them, and they live stream almost every session, almost every committee hearing, and a lot of them, if they don't get them live streamed, they do eventually get them put up, posted up, even if they weren't showing live on their YouTube channel. And so it's out there, and that's what I've been listening to. I'm just, while I'm driving, I'm not going to flip through tabs on my phone to tell you what the right YouTube channel is. But I was listening to the debate, and I heard, I'm about an hour in, or maybe a tad more than an hour into it, and I got to tell you, there's already some very disappointing things being said, and they haven't even said the anti-gun inane drivel yet. But it's funny how Senator Blood had asked Senator Clements to yield to some questioning. So right there on the floor, she's asking him if he had said certain things earlier in his remarks when he had been to the mic, and his remarks weren't even his. He was reading the testimony of his nephew, who had testified back in January in the Judiciary Committee hearing. So Senator Blood had already heard these words come directly from the source, as she's on the committee. But she asked Senator Clements if part of what he said was that the current permitting process that is in place is prohibitive to low-income and poverty-level families or Nebraskans being able to defend themselves. And he said, yes, that was what he said. And then she said, well, do you remember how you voted on this particular bill back in 2017 that was about expanding federal funding for food benefits, food stamps? And he said, I believe I voted against it. And so she wants to draw some sort of comparison between the two, how all of a sudden, he didn't care about the poors, and now he cares about the poors. And I think she's implying that he's being very hypocritical, although I've never read in the Constitution where government-provided food is considered a right. The Constitution does enshrine the right to keep and bear arms. And so I don't even see the comparison, because we're literally talking about apples and oranges on one side, and a constitutionally protected right given by God, and you have it because you were born and you breathe air and you're an American. Simple as that. The Constitution does not give you the right to keep and bear arms. God gave you that. Or if you don't believe in God, the fact that you were born and you breathe air, I'm pretty sure you believe that fact, that you have certain rights. And the Constitution says the government cannot touch, and that's one of them. The government does not say that you have to be provided food. You have the right to go get a job and make yourself flourish and eat food. Yes, you do. But it does not say that federal funds should be or must be used to feed every mouth in America. Thank goodness it doesn't. Can you imagine how poor of a nation we would be if we were required to feed every mouth? No, you come here and you make it under your own steam, or you don't make it. It's as simple as that. It is a little brutal sometimes, I agree. But that's the law of the jungle, right? That is the real world. You sink or you swim. Those are the two options. And that's the way it ought to be. So Senator Blood worked that back around to say that now, do you need a permit to own a rifle or a shotgun? And Senator Clements said that he didn't. Well, first he thought that they did, but he wasn't sure, and he conceded that possibly you don't need a permit to buy a rifle or a shotgun, and that is the truth here in Nebraska. No permit required for long guns. However, if you buy one from a big box store, you're still going to go through a NICS check no matter what. But there is a permit required to buy a handgun that does require a background check to have been done before you even are issued the permit. Now, that all being said, she said, how is this prohibitive if poor people can have a shotgun or a rifle to protect themselves? How are they not able to protect themselves? And that was where she left it. And it's very interesting to me that Senator Carol Blood who did run for governor and thank God did not win. But unfortunately, that leaves her in her Senate role. So I guess of the two, it's kind of like picking between, um, instant death and herpes. Well, I mean, I don't want herpes, but at least it's treatable. Death is pretty final. So, yeah, I mean, it would be worse to have her as governor. Let's not make any mistakes there. I don't want her in the Senate, but of the two, I'd much rather have her one of 49 than the chief executive of the state. That all being said, it's quite interesting that somebody who's been in the governing body for that long and has the tenure that she has and claims, I mean, she acts like she's the smartest person on the floor. It's just the way that she comes off. She may not think that way about herself, but it appears to me that she does think that way about herself. For somebody so smart, it's interesting to me that she would insinuate that the poor people don't deserve protection when they leave their house. Because yes, you can have a rifle or a shotgun and defend yourself quite well, very well, in fact, possibly better than with a handgun in your home. If you are invaded, yes, you can put up one hell of a stand with an AR-15 and one single magazine, standard capacity magazine with 30 rounds in it. That's one hell of a stand against most home invasions. Now, that being said, Senator Blood apparently is implying one of two things, maybe both of two things. Number one, poor people shouldn't leave their house. You don't deserve to be out and about in public. And if you do go into public, poor people, screw you. You don't deserve protection. So Senator Blood doesn't want the poor people to be protected outside the house in public. Or the other option is they have a rifle or a shotgun and they just concealed carry that. Because it is general consensus. If you watched the show last night, we had a discussion at length on open carry. But the general consensus is discretion is usually the way to go. So concealed carry is better than open carry in most settings, especially when you're around, a lot of people. And so maybe Senator Blood is insinuating that the poor people should just go ahead and commit felony crimes and conceal a rifle or a shotgun as they're out and about in public. That is not covered under the current statute or the proposed LB 77 that only covers handguns. It would not make it legal to conceal any other type of weapon, whether it be a long gun or a blade longer than 3.5 inches, brass knuckles, anything like that. And so those still, the statute remains the same on all of that. You can't conceal a long gun on your person. Senator Blood thinks that must be the best alternative for the poor people is go get a rifle and then just put that under your coat and commit a felony. Or in lieu of that, if you don't want to be a felon, then just stay home, poor people. That's what she said. Also found it interesting when Michaela Cavanaugh got up to speak, she put in a motion to bracket until, today, because it was yesterday's proceedings. So bracket until the next day, which would have been today. Basically, so she could skip to the front of the line and talk. And she said it that much when she started to talk. And then she spent a lot of her time telling Senator Brewer how impressed she was about a procedure that he had done, which I don't know the rule book exactly, but I do know that it allows him to circumvent a lot of things that have been put into filed as far as the different amendments from these senators that want to gum up the works and block this bill. And so her exact words were game recognizes game. And she was giving props to Senator Brewer for his use of the rule book. She didn't know he was going to do that. She didn't expect such a thing out of him. And she was quite impressed the way that he basically, blocked her like a chess move. He basically shut her down and blocked her when she was thought she was going for some sort of a checkmate, or attempting at least. And so again, this is not news to anybody that knows Nebraska politics, but Senator Michaela Cavanaugh thinks this is all a fucking game. And yes, I dropped an F-bomb. This is not a game, Senator Cavanaugh. Okay? This is life and death, literally, for some Nebraskans. And you are fucking with it. So don't do that. Yes, it's way early in the morning. I'm already getting wound up. I'm dropping F-bombs. I may have to go back through. Well, this isn't monetized anyway, and I don't think I will monetize it for that fact. But if you're watching and you're offended, I'm sorry, but you're not half as offended at my F-bombs as I am at Michaela Cavanaugh thinking that legislation is a game. How juvenile, how immature, how completely out of your depth do you have to be to literally go up on the floor and say that game recognizes game? He's not playing games. He's using the rules to stop you from playing games, Senator. Simple as that. That's as far as I've gotten in the debate. If you watched it or listened to it all, you know what's coming that I haven't heard yet. I did read several of the comments that our president, NFOA president, Trish Harold, had put up on the NFOA page. So if you don't follow that, go do so. Nebraska Firearms Owners Association on Facebook. And you can see some of her responses to the things that certain senators had said. And judging by those, I know that there's going to be a lot more stupidity that's going to reach my ears before I'm done listening to yesterday's debates. But I don't know if anybody could possibly be more ashamed right now of their legislative body than I am. Just the fact that we have a district in our state who would elect such an idiot, a complete imbecile, to office to represent them. Whatever her district is in Omaha, you people are apparently stupid morons. That's who you elected to represent you and champion your interests in the legislative body. So the representative that you send reflects back on you always. And the majority of that district, I know that there are good people in that district. Don't even know which district it is. Don't really care. I know it's in Omaha. And I know there's some good people in there. But I also know that the majority of the voters are completely brainless or brain dead and don't have any idea what the real world is all about. They think that legislation is a game and they sent their best player, apparently. So had to sound off on that. Wanted to get that off my chest so I can get to the Capitol building this morning with a just a clear mind, right? And that won't be weighing on me anymore, although it probably will. That's going to eat on me for a while because I know she's going to run her mouth more this morning, and I'll be there in the gallery. And I remember last year when I was in the gallery and she had pointed up at the section where we were sitting and had said she remembered a couple years ago when she was terrified because there were guns in the Capitol. And then she looks up and sees a bunch of white supremacists sitting in the balcony looking at her. And I didn't take too kindly to that, nor did our Latina president of NFOA, first generation Argentinian. Her parents are immigrants. I don't think she appreciated being called a white supremacist either. And NFOA is anything but that. We could care less what color you are. We just want you in our group if you are a firearm owner and you're a Nebraskan. That's it. That's the only qualifications. And anybody who tries to gatekeep any more than that, it does not reflect us, our values, our views, doesn't represent us. So I don't care what party you're affiliated with. You can be Democrat, you can be in the NFOA. You can be black, white, Asian, Hispanic, doesn't matter. African, doesn't matter. If you're a Nebraskan and you own firearms, you can be in our group. If you're a Nebraskan and you don't own firearms, you can still be in our group, honestly, as long as you support the notion that people should have the right to own them if they want to, and you're exercising your right to not own them. I'm good with that. We still want you as part of our group. We want the support. Okay, I've kind of gone off on a little bit of a tangent here after my rant. I feel a little better. You guys are very cathartic. I appreciate you being great listeners out there. There are some comments. Let's see what I got here. I was driving through Columbus, so I didn't want to take time to read while I was actually in traffic. Now we're kind of back out on the open road. There's been some good stuff coming through here. I missed a lot of comments. Vanessa Kitty says it should be any weapon concealed. Yes, that would be true constitutional carry. I know I use the word too because that's just the general term, but it's not constitutional carry. It's permitless carry, and that's really the word that should be used to describe this bill. because it just takes our current Concealed Handgun Permit Act and revises that to where right now it's a felony crime to carry a concealed handgun without a permit, and it would remove that as a crime. It would just remove the requirement of the law for the permit. You can still get the permit. You can still get the CHP, and then it's recognized by the state of Colorado, so you can cross that state line and still carry in Colorado. I've done that. I have my permit. I teach people to get the permit. I'm a strong proponent of the permit. I'm equally strong proponent that you shouldn't have to get the permit just to be able to walk around with your coat over your holster covering it up. We have a fairly long winter season, and spring comes late in Nebraska. There are a lot of people that are wearing coats right now, jackets, what have you, that would love to conceal carry, but just don't want to have to go spend the money, take time off work to sit in a classroom, take more time off work to go sit in the state patrol for their appointment to get fingerprinted and then pay all the money. And a lot of people that flat out, it's just not in the budget. Shouldn't be required. Most everyone is infected with the herpes virus within the first years of life. I did not know that. That's a little alarming, but you know what? As long as their immune system fights it off, that's great. Watch the politicians in Connecticut. No, I live in Nebraska for a reason. If I wanted to live in a place where most of the politicians are brain dead morons, I would go to a place like Connecticut, yes. But nope, I live here for a reason. I thought that reason would maybe prevail. We'll see. I hope it does. There are a lot of reasonable senators in that body, but we need at least 33 of them. We'll see. All right. Grumpy says, let them fly. I think that's the F-bombs. We want proper swear and curse words during a day show. Who the heck am I kidding? All right. Well, again, I'm dragging my feet getting this thing off the ground just because I haven't had the extra time to throw at it. I will be doing a non-live show where we don't hold back. We just let it fly, whatever it is. We're not going to be scared of any word, even if it's one of those words that you can't say that word. Yeah, well, we're going to say the word if it needs to be said. We're not going to say it simply for the purpose of saying it, but we're also not going to hide from it. So it's certain words are like the Voldemort of words. Oh, you don't say that word out loud. Yeah, well, that's why people are scared of it, because they've given the word power it doesn't deserve. So it's like anything else. If you take it out and put it in the spotlight, it's really not all that scary. In fact, it's quite dumb. As long as you don't use it improperly, then I'm not scared of that word. You should be able to buy a tank at the grocery store. I don't know any grocery stores with an aisle big enough to hold tanks, but maybe Costco or something like that. They might be more set up to have a tank display. Let's see. Oh, hold on. I got to cut down the old speed here. We dropped from 4-lane to 2-lane. Okay. Don't want a speeding ticket. Take long. I'm already going to be just barely getting into the Capitol. I may be late for I'll probably be late for the opening prayer and Pledge of Allegiance, but hopefully I'll be there for the debate. My goal is to at least get inside the Capitol and start to screen record off my spare phone that I'll get on the Capitol building Wi-Fi and then hopefully be able to stream and screen record the proceedings. So I'll have those too. All right, Vanessa Kitty's still talking about swearing. 500 Magnums talking about some scumbags. Let's see. They want to make us victims. It's only fair. Vanessa Kitty likes Nebraska. I love Nebraska. I don't really care to live anywhere else. There's very, very few places in this country that I've been to that I would consider living in that aren't in Nebraska. Very few. So, right, you can bear arms in any USA jurisdiction. I wholeheartedly agree. However, there are some places where we've been told our rights don't apply, or, we shouldn't have those rights because some people are scared of them. And apparently that's enough for them to, I'm scared of something, so I don't think anybody should have it because I worry that I can't use it responsibly. Therefore, I project my ineptitude upon the whole world. That's how that works. We've got, oh, we're still talking about breakouts, I guess, or something. Immunocompromised. That's a horrible way to live. 500 Magnum says he'd love to live in Wyoming. Maybe certain parts of it that are, not completely flat and nothing but tumbleweeds, rocks, and antelope. But you've got to go through a lot of that to get to the corner where it's pretty. And I don't know. And then those areas that are pretty are, of course, super expensive, like any other situation would be. So y'all are welcome to visit Nebraska, but there's a reason why I like it, that everybody thinks Nebraska is just dull and boring and sucks and doesn't want to live here, because if anybody found out how it really is, they'd want to live here too, and then all of a sudden we wouldn't be Nebraska anymore. We'd be California. And I really, really don't want people to California my Nebraska. So look what's happened to Colorado. All the good people are getting pushed out because the people from California they're fleeing oppression in California. Check this out. This is how this works. Texas is getting a lot of this too. People are leaving California because the politicians are so terrible there. The political landscape is so terrible there. It's not because the country's bad. I mean, California is beautiful, the parts where the politicians haven't fucked it up. But they're leaving because of the political landscape. And so what do? They go to Texas, they go to Colorado, and then they vote the exact same way that screwed up California and think it's going to be better this time around. Because, again, they've got their heads someplace where the sun never shines. Hey, Ben's out there on the Facebook side. What are my thoughts about Omaha and Lincoln? Riley NG, does that mean ruling over the rest of the state? Well, that's why we have 49 districts. But, it's one of those things where we see it all the time. Nebraska is not that much different than Illinois or New York or California, really. It's Springfield and Chicago that make all the rules in Illinois, and the good people in the rural areas of Illinois, they don't matter. They don't care about them. All they care about is themselves. It's a selfishness thing. Everybody's selfish. Everybody wants somebody to make sure that their voice is heard, right? I mean, it's partly being selfish. It's fair if you want to make sure everybody's voice is heard. It's selfish if you want only your voice to be heard and you don't care about the rest of them. But we're all a little bit selfish. Those of us from the rural parts of the state really don't care much about what Lincoln and Omaha have to say. The people in Lincoln and Omaha don't care what we have to say. It's never been that way. It will ever be that way. That's just the nature of the beast. And we've seen what happens in some states where, New York runs, and I don't know how Albany is, but New York City pretty well runs the whole state of New York. And from what I hear, Buffalo's pretty nasty too. But I know that there's a ton of great people in the state of New York that aren't in NYC or in Buffalo or even in Albany. They're in the other parts of the state where people still have their heads screwed on straight. Every state that we talk, if whatever state you're in, tell me it's any different. Tell me the people in the capital or in the biggest city don't run the rest of the state. They do. That's the way it works. So that's why we have legislatures in place. That's why we have elected representation. What do I think about it? I think it sucks because I don't live in Lincoln or Omaha. And even if I did, I wouldn't think like the typical Lincoln or Omaha, left-leaning person does. But having said that, I know a ton of people in Omaha and a ton of good people in Lincoln that are very right-leaning, that have their heads on straight. And the trick is, it's not enough to have those people. You have to have somebody from that camp willing to make the sacrifice. And make no mistake, it's a sacrifice when good people go to the legislature, run for office, to get elected, to become a state senator, to go and sit in that sausage factory. And we've seen it time and again. Everybody, when they're new as a senator, thinks they can go into Lincoln and, there's a new sheriff in town. I'm not going to let that stuff slide the way that the last person did. I'm going to go clean it up and make it better, and it'll be great. And then they get there and they realize, holy crap, this is a machine that's been in motion since long before I was even born, and it's hard to change that machine. It's hard to derail it or reroute it even. Very difficult. So that's what I think about it. I think that the only way that we stop it is that we keep sending good people to Lincoln from the rest of the state. And it's hard because the rural areas are losing population and Lincoln and Omaha keep gaining population. That means that they will keep redistricting. They will keep adding more senators to those places and taking away senators from the rest of the state because it is based on population density. And so that being said, the only way that we can fight that is if we don't lose the population in the western 7/8 of the state. But again, after what I just said, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword. We need more people to live in Nebraska outside of Lincoln and Omaha, but it's got to be a balance. If we get too many, we're just going to have, Grand Island take off and do the same thing, or Scotts Bluff take off and do the same thing. So it's going to be a mess. All right, I'm getting down here to the Highway 81 and 92 junction, and I know pretty soon I'm going to lose service. So I'm going to sign off. If you're in Nebraska, please help us. If you have not been contacting the other 48 state senators besides Brewer and asking them to please support LB 77, please do so. And even Amendment 640, if we can pass it, without the amendment, if it still passes, great. If that amendment is what gets it to pass, great. That just, with that amendment, it does not carve out Lincoln or Omaha. It just says that, that there's an extra gun charge that gets tacked on if you're concealed carrying while committing another felony or violent crime, just like it does already if you have a permit. So all that amendment does, it aligns the non-permit concealed carriers with the permit concealed carriers. That's it. It doesn't take away anything we don't already, it doesn't take anything away that we have now. It doesn't do anything that we don't already have in place. It just aligns everything. But the bill still does not carve out Lincoln or Omaha. So we still get statewide preemption if it passes. That's huge. We get LB 77 passed, we can work on a whole lot of other stuff with that framework in place. And having the Bruin decision, that hopefully that gets brought up in the debate. Contact the senators' offices and ask them to bring up the Bruin decision in the debate and make sure that the governing body votes considering the text, history, and tradition of the Second Amendment and, honestly, Article 1, Section 1 of the Nebraska Constitution. And Second Amendment notwithstanding, these senators should be arguing the merits based on our state's constitution. That's all that they should need to pass this. If you're not in Nebraska, please pray. If you know people in Nebraska, or you have land in Nebraska, or your work takes you to Nebraska, or you have any other interest in Nebraska, you still have a right to call these senators up, email them, and whatever you want to do, and just ask them to support it as well, because people you care about or you yourself spend time in Nebraska, and you would love to be able to carry concealed as well, since you're not a criminal. All right, I will sign off. I will try to come back later this afternoon when I'm driving home and do a recap. So until then, God bless you, and if you're in Lincoln and you're in the Capitol, stop me, say hi. I want to